Hello and welcome to the Analysys Mason podcast. My name's Tom Rebeck and I'm a partner in our research division. I'm here with Jay Lee, who's a manager in our consulting division. Today, we're going to talk about an article that Jay recently wrote about changes in the Indonesian market that make it more attractive to investors. We'll put a link to this article in the show notes. So let's start by discussing these changes. So in the article, Jay, you say that TMT's moved from the negative list to the positive list. So what are these lists and what does this shift mean?
Yeah. Hi, Tom. So to give some background, before this year, Indonesia had what was called the negative investment list or the negative list. So this list was published through presidential regulation and essentially categorized a broad range of business fields in Indonesia across three main types. So there are types which are close to investment. The second are those that are open to investment but subject to conditions. And the third are those that are open to investment without conditions. And when we say conditions, one of the key conditions that was commonly specified in the negative list was that on limited foreign capital ownership, with multiple sectors related to TMT affected. So, for example, the negative list previously said that a towerco had to have 100% domestic capital, while for a mobile telecommunication network service provider, foreign capital was allowed but capped at 67%. So therefore, these restrictions constrain foreign investors that were looking to fund opportunities in the Indonesian market. However, this has changed because the negative list has now been replaced by what is called the positive list that recently took effect in March 2021. So this positive list significantly reduces the foreign investment restrictions across many sectors, including allowing 100% foreign ownership in many of them. So this includes the two examples that I mentioned earlier, where mobile telecommunication network service providers and towercos no longer have restrictions on foreign ownership. In addition, the positive list also looks to stimulate investment in priority sectors through several fiscal and non-fiscal incentives, such as the granting of tax holidays to the data hosting sector. Therefore, the introduction of the positive list is basically a major change in terms of significantly broadening the opportunities for foreign investors that are targeting the Indonesian market, but particularly for the TMT industry, as multiple sectors within that negative list previously faced foreign investment restrictions, and that has now changed with the new positive list.
Okay. So in the examples that you gave, so telcos and telecoms operators, mobile operators, there was a restriction to foreign investors, and now all of those restrictions have gone.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And then more generally, so you talk about Indonesia as being an attractive destination for investors. Maybe just talk a little bit more about that and what makes Indonesia an attractive opportunity.
Yeah. So I think when we talk about the Indonesian TMT market, there are three main factors that I think I would focus on that make it an especially attractive target for potential investors. So I think the first is the sheer size of the Indonesian market, with Indonesia being the fourth most populous country globally, population of about 270 million. Therefore, if the cost of accessing this very large market can be effectively managed, then there's potential for high or attractive returns for investors. The second key factor is that while the market in Indonesia is very large, a lot of it remains relatively untapped. So, for example, Indonesia's fixed broadband penetration is still very low at about 15% of households, and about half of its population is still not using the internet. So that's going to be a big source of opportunity for potential investors in realizing this untapped market. The third key factor is that there is evidence of very strong intrinsic demand for connectivity in the market, even though internet penetration is not very high yet. So, for example, Indonesia's internet users are amongst the top 10 countries globally in terms of average time spent online, and the rapid development of its digital economy is only going to accelerate this demand for connectivity further. So, for example, we see that there are multiple Indonesian unicorns that are shaping how Indonesians make use of connectivity and technology in their daily lives. So there's a company called Gojek that started as a ride-hailing company and has since expanded to areas such as logistics and payments. There's also a company called Tokopedia, which is a popular e-commerce platform that is now looking to digitalize small businesses. So these three key factors combined, I would say, are the main factors that make Indonesia an especially attractive market for foreign investors that are looking to capitalize upon the recent changes in foreign investment restrictions, as mentioned earlier.
Okay, so yeah, it's a huge country, plenty of
Yeah,
potential untapped demand, but potential lots of latent demand that you can see from usage of existing services.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I think you said the new regulations came in March. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
took effect in March.
Okay. So how quickly do you expect them to change the landscape, and what sort of how is it going to change the landscape?
I think the new regulations are likely to spur a flurry of activity in the Indonesian TMT sector, with foreign investors likely to scour the market for potential targets to enable them to capture the favorable market opportunity as discussed. I think in particular, the TMT infrastructure aspect will be a key target for investors as they're likely to seek to support the underdeveloped infrastructure where there's good potential for take-up given the relatively untapped market with actually strong intrinsic demand as discussed earlier. So, for example, some key areas that may be of interest for investors are mobile towers and fiber.
Mm,
And I think foreign investors are likely to look towards these areas for opportunities, and we may thus see increased M&A activity in these two areas because of the new changes through the positive list. And in terms of how fast the changes in the foreign investment rules can have on the market, I would say that we are already observing some evidence of increased interest and activity, which is likely to only accelerate further. So, for example, well, the positive list took effect in March this year. The market was already anticipating this as it was part of an
right.
omnibus bill that was passed in Parliament in October last year. And from speaking with our private equity clients, they were already keen to understand and await the changes to the actual regulation and understand the implications for investment opportunities in the market. So they were already keenly awaiting what these changes mean for them and how they can invest and capitalize upon these changes. So yes, I would say that we are already seeing signs of heightened interest in the Indonesian TMT market because of these changes to the positive list. And I would not be surprised to see heightened M&A activity over the next 12 months and beyond,
Hmm.
especially in say, the TMT infrastructure side, such as towers and fiber.
Interesting. So it sounds like we might see some activity in 2021.
Yes, we've already seen some activity in the past few months of this year. For
Right.
example, there's been a tower spin-off from divestment from one of the major mobile operators, Indosat Ooredoo. So we are likely to see continued M&A activity in this sector over the next 12 months and even beyond.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Jay. So there's more details on the developments in the article that I mentioned before. You can find that in the show notes and on our website. It also has Jay's contact details, and if you'd like to get more information. To automatically receive future episodes, please subscribe to the Analysys Mason podcast. Thank you for listening.